Day one of men's Olympic hockey in the books. Rasmus Dahlin, one of the stars of the day. We'll talk about it coming up in the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to your podcast or wherever you watch your podcasts. If where you watch is on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe if you are watching us there. And if you would like to get into our Everydayers Club, where you will get ad-free versions of this show, maybe you've seen that little button above your listening platform and you're interested, you want to get into our Locked On Sabres Discord as well, head over to lockedonsabres.supercast.com, and that is the place to sign up. Sneaky Joe DiBiase on today's show, which is presented by FanDuel. Winter games are on. No better way to follow than with FanDuel, betting on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. We'll talk about the Olympic Games. We'll talk about the hockey tournament, of course, specifically here, the Sabres that are there. Rasmus Dahlin through one game. Tage Thompson plays on Thursday against Latvia. There was, though, a very interesting development about Tage at USA Hockey practice on Wednesday, and I want to get to that coming up on today's show as well. So stay tuned. All of that ahead, and a little bit on the rest of the tournament as well, because it was a fun first day. I love this tournament. I love best on best international hockey. We have not had it in over a decade. I've talked about it in this show for years, the potential for it to come back. That has happened, and I think it really delivered on a day where I wasn't sure today would be the day it would deliver. When I think deliver on the hype and the best on best element of the sport, I'm thinking about Canada-U.S. in a gold medal game. I'm thinking about the U.S. playing Sweden in the knockout rounds when you get to the quarters and the semifinals. I was not thinking day one of the tournament with Slovakia and Italy playing, not against each other, but in separate games. You had big favorites on the day. Finland was like 70% to win that game over Slovakia, and Sweden was 98% to win over Italy. And we'll talk about kind of the tournament as a whole a little bit later on, but that Sweden-Italy game, I was jumping out of my chair at different moments, and really on both sides. I am of Italian descent. I'm only 2 generations removed from, my grandfather being from Italy and having family members that still live over there, cousins and great uncles and whatnot. So I've got that. So I have no problem rooting for the Italians, especially when you've got that underdog factor, which you very much had in this game. So I kind of had a tough time because I want Dahlin to do well, and I think him winning, as I said earlier in the week, would be one of the coolest stories of the Olympics. And I even mentioned the potential for him to win the MVP. Is he the best player on Sweden's roster? I think him and Willie Nylander are right at the top of the list. And through one day, Sweden looked like their best player was Rasmus Dahlin. He showed out. Man, Damian Clara, though. That is the story of the game. That guy was unbelievable. Turned away, I think it was 45 of 48 shots. This is the Italian goaltender. If you did not watch the game, he stood on his head. He was unbelievable. So bad for him. Feel for him that he got hurt in the third period on a breakaway save, by the way, where he's doing almost a full split, touching the post, making an unbelievable save. And, he really, this is probably not saying much. He could very easily become the greatest Italian hockey player that has ever lived. I looked. The bar is not very high to clear. There's only been a couple of NHLers really ever. Clara is a second-round pick of the Anaheim Ducks and is their best goalie prospect. And 21 years old, he might be approaching the NHL. So really great kind of showing out for him and becoming a star, an Olympic star at least through one game. But want to talk about Dahlin, Rasmus Dahlin, and what he did against an inferior opponent, right? Like, Italy hung around. That was a 1-goal game with less than 5 minutes to go. Italy had a great chance with about 8 minutes left, and I said right then and there, that had to be it. You had to tie it there because they just had so few shots. There was no guarantee you were going to get another shot on net between then and the end of the game. They barely did. 60-22 were the shots on goal. So while it was a close hockey game on the scoreboard, it really wasn't in terms of the caliber of opponent. Like, you've watched that game, you knew Sweden had all the best players by far, except for, I guess, the goaltender, because Clara was awesome. And Dahlin looked like the best player on Sweden. And you know what? As a team that is more talented and feels like they probably should be winning by 7 is not winning, and you're in the middle of a tied hockey game in the second period, you need someone to step up, because guys are missing the net and they're hanging their head. They're looking up to the ceiling. Frustration is setting in. And who's the guy that took over with an incredible play in the second period and made a goal happen? It was Dahlin, who had started out on the wall, came down in to the zone, cut backhand to forehand into the middle of the ice, and the puck ends up going to William Nylander, who had a tap in. Dahlin completely created that goal at a time when his team really needed it. And he ends up with 3 assists on the night, plays just short of 20 minutes. And they were playing the Swedes as though that was their top pair. It was Dahlin and it was Gustav Forsling. Those guys were their shutdown. Well, not even shutdown. I guess there's not much to shut down. But in terms of the ice time that they played and the roles, I mean, Carlson plays a little bit more in part because of power play time, and that might end up being how it looks. But when they're at 5-on-5, no surprise, Dahlin is the guy. So a great first game for him. He had 5 shots on goal as well. He was just all over the ice. And, you know, if that's his first step, 3 points, he's going to be in the MVP chase. Now, Juraj Slafkovsky is definitely going to be ahead of him after one day. He took over for Slovakia. But Dahlin stood out. And I think that, you know, casual hockey fans watching that game, they learned a little something about Damian Clara, and they might have learned something about Rasmus Dahlin, that on a team of star players with William Nylander and Lucas Raymond and Victor Hedman at this age, Elias Pettersson, Jesper Bratt, Zibanejad, Carlson, just go down the list. He looked like the best player on the ice. So this could be a breakout for the entire hockey world to see. This guy isn't just a really good player or even a great player. He's one of the best defensemen in the world. So a great first day for him. And the other 2 assists, you know, not as impressive, but it was that second one. That second assist that he had in the second period. Again, the Nylander goal, I think it's 2-2 at that point in time. And he's able to bang that one home. So actually, you know what? That might have been early in the third period, now that I'm talking about it. I think it might have been. It might have been my mistake. I think it was beginning of the third period that goal happened. But again, 3 assists for Dahlin on the night. All right. They're next, by the way, in action. If you are wondering, they are going to be in it Friday at 6:10 in the morning Eastern time against Finland. That's a big game. That's probably the best game of the entire group stage schedule. U.S. and Canada are in different groups. U.S., Canada, Sweden, and Finland are all in different groups. Like, of the big 4, the only matchup that you get early on is Sweden and Finland. And we'll talk about Finland and their first day in a little bit. So that's the next time that we'll get a chance to see Dahlin on the ice and see if maybe he can win MVP. By the way, you don't have to win gold to win MVP. Every MVP at the Olympics since 2002, when Joe Sakic won it, has not been on the gold medal winning team. So they could finish second or third, and he could still be that MVP. When we come back, want to talk about Tage Thompson, his role coming up at the Olympics, and how that might have shifted a little bit at American hockey practice on Wednesday. That when we return here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Winter games are here, and if you're anything like me, you're locking in for events that you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. Curling, that's been the big one for me. Watched a lot of curling today, and that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports that you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of these curling matches, the Italy-Sweden matchup, it's funny, they played in hockey, and you had a lot of drama on Wednesday. Italy and Sweden also faced off in men's curling, and that match was wire to wire, awesome right to the very end. And it's not just curling. You got speed skating. You've got all the skiing events and snowboarding events. Even these niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked into the competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on. No better way to follow it than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. We got some excitement. We'll talk a little bit about Finland and Slovakia in a little bit. We talked a bit about the Sweden and Italy game. Outshot 60-22. My Italians, they weren't able to do it. Wasn't expecting them to do it. That's a win for them. They have already overachieved for these Olympic Games. You made a game against Sweden that everyone would have had turned off by the second period, thinking it'd be 7-0. You made that a game to watch all the way through to the final couple of minutes. So already hats off to Team Italy, because they were expected to lose by 5-10 every single game that they played, especially being in a tough group. What about Team USA? So they will be in action against Latvia on Thursday afternoon. That'll be our first chance to see the Americans, who have the most hype that they have ever had coming into this Olympic Games. I have a lot of hype for them. I believe they should be co-favorites with Canada. They are a little bit behind them in the odds at FanDuel Sportsbook, but I guess that's understandable. They've got some of the best players in the world. Probably the three best players are all on Canada: McDavid, McKinnon, Makar. So, I don't think it's that offensive that that's the case. We also don't know who the U.S. is starting in goal. I guess we don't know who Canada is starting in goal either, I don't believe. I can't believe it won't be Connor Hellebuck. It looks to me like Connor Hellebuck is going to be the guy. He's been getting his own net at practice every time, so that would indicate to me that he'll be the one. Clayton Keller is expected to be scratched, which is just a dumb American hockey decision where you just gotta keep one guy out of the lineup that should be in. The fact that Vinny Trocheck is in the lineup over him is offensive. There in no world, in no role, in no anything is Vinny Trocheck a better hockey player than Clayton Keller. Put your best guys on the ice. Fourth line, I guess it's not the end of the world. Also, Jackson Lacombe, not a surprise. He'll be the extra on defense. The change we saw at practice on Wednesday that involves Tage Thompson, which is something that I am really curious in for these next couple of games. I had no expectation that Tage Thompson was going to be on the number one power play unit for Team USA. And he was on that unit on Wednesday. He was on the unit with Jack Eichel, Auston Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk, and Quinn Hughes. That's your number one unit. And I saw that, and my first thought was, if you've heard me talk about Tage recently on this show, I'm very sour on him on the man advantage. I think the problem the Sabres have right now as a power play unit is they force everything through Tage on the left wall when he's an 11% shooter on the power play, which is not efficient. I looked out of the last 3 years, you have 99 NHL players that have more than 100 shots on the power play. And out of those 99, Tage Thompson's shooting percentage is 76th. He's not efficient at it at all. And I looked at the other guys on that unit. Eichel, that's his spot. He plays from where Tage is. Now, funny enough, Eichel as a shooter is even worse than Thompson is. Eichel ranks 92nd out of those 100 shooters. However, Eichel is a far better playmaker. Assist totals in those 3 years in the NHL, Eichel has 68 assists, while Thompson has 28. So I think Matthews is playing on that right wall on his one-timer. I think Eichel is playing on the left wall on his one-timer. Quinn Hughes is going to be at the top of the point. And I have to imagine that Matthew Tkachuk is going to be the guy in front of the net. So where does that likely leave Tage? it leaves him in a position that, I'm going to be honest, in 7-8 years of watching him play for the Buffalo Sabres, I'm not sure I've ever seen him play regularly top of the slot on the power play. I don't know that I've ever seen it. Maybe things shift around a little bit within a shift, and he's done it for a few seconds at a time. Maybe there were a couple of games long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, where they tried it out with him, but not that I can remember. Has he ever been in that position? That's the Sam Reinhart spot. That's the spot that Reinhart plays a lot and scores on all the time. I mean, Reinhart plays in front of the net too. Like, he kind of plays all over, but I think of Reinhart scoring in the power play in that position, finding the soft spot of the zone. You're almost kind of like, to make another football comparison, you're kind of like a slot receiver where your job is just to find the open pocket and sit in it and wait for the pass. That's kind of what that role is. So it does require a little bit of feel. I think it does require a little bit of experience, I would imagine. And again, Tage doesn't have that, but he does have the shot. He's got a hard shot, and maybe he'll be better at scoring from that position than he has been on the left. It's kind of a cool experiment, I think, from a Sabres perspective, because if you're Lindy Ruff or you're Seth Appert, and maybe you've thought about putting Tage there, but you haven't done it yet, and if he's about to go do it for Team USA, that gives you a little bit of a look as to how does he look there? Does he look comfortable? Does he look lost? Does he look like, because you got to be a very quick decision maker if you're going to play in that high slot, because you're in the middle of everybody. So those penalty killers, the second that pass flies into you, they're all going to collapse. They're all going to collapse on top of you. And because of that, your timing has to be as fast as possible. You've got to know where that puck is going before it's even on your stick. And again, this is all good, to me, new from Thompson's perspective. I've never seen whether Thompson can be that quick of a decision maker and can, shuffle the puck around. You got to be a good distributor playing from that area as well. I guess, by the way, it is possible Eichel is there, but I would be surprised. I think it's got to be Thompson. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. And if, again, that is indeed where he plays, I am hoping it is, because they're going to beat Latvia. They should. Should I knock on wood? They should beat Latvia. They're like a 5-goal favorite. They should beat Denmark, and they should almost definitely beat Germany. So you got 3 games here, softer opponents. You should have an easy ride to the knockout stage of the tournament. And I got no problem trying Tage in a spot that maybe he's no good at, but if he is, then that's good for Team USA, and it's good for the Sabres, and maybe they could start, get on that whiteboard. Appert and Lindy, they're back here in Buffalo, I assume. Maybe they went on vacation. I don't know. And get on that whiteboard in the office and put Tage in the middle and start trying to figure out who fits on the left now and who fits on the right and moving things around, because anything that could do to help that power play would be good. So I like it. And it's cool that he's on the number 1 unit at all. You just see that list of guys. It's the best players in the world, and Thompson is one of them, with Eichel, Matthews, Tkachuk, and Quinn Hughes, who is, I think Eichel and Hughes are the best 2 players on Team USA. Otherwise, by the way, lines, I'll double check this again. I was so distracted by the power play, I didn't even look, but he was on the same line, I believe, and that is the case. Yeah, he's going to open the tournament with Dylan Larkin at center and then Kyle Connor on the wing. I like that a lot for them. Okay, that's on Tage. By the way, if you are watching on YouTube, you might see my Team USA Tage hoodie, 26 shirts, super sharp, if you're interested. When we come back, the rest of the Olympic Games, the Slovakian upset that we saw, a funny thing that annoyed me about the Slovakian jerseys, which I loved, by the way, from Wednesday, and then a look ahead to what else we got coming in the next couple days. That next on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Quo. New year, new systems, time when a lot of us are looking at the messier parts of how businesses are run, our business, and think there has to be a better way, and there is. Streamlining your communication is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating all in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which will make replies faster and more personal. Works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools will automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. No surprise, Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this year the year where no opportunity, no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNHL. It's QUO.com/LockedOnNHL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. All right, back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, a great opening day of Olympic hockey. Again, 2 games that were expected to be blowouts. You got 2 close games, 1 upset. Couldn't ask for better. To look back for a moment before we fast forward to Thursday on the matchup that kicked off the tournament between Finland and Slovakia. I had a buddy who even texted me before the game. I think I like Slovakia in this game to cover. I like them with the odds. And maybe I am always going to be someone who falls for this with a team like Slovakia that goes to a tournament like this with so few NHLers. And they do not have many, right? It's Juraj Slafkovsky. It's not many after that. Like, Eric Cernak is on the team and Simon Nemec. Like, you've got a couple of those guys. But in large part, it's guys that play in Slovakia and play in the KHL. And often I'm going to probably sleep on those types of teams, but once in a while, you have chemistry on those lines, and some of those guys, are better players than you think, and they end up pulling off an upset. And that's what we got on Wednesday. The Slovakians winning 4-1 over Finland. And I have a couple thoughts on Finland, but Slovakia, even though I don't think they're all the way there as a roster right now, obviously, they are on the way up. They've had some higher draft picks as of late, and I think Slafkovsky is definitely the headliner for that. I think they are maybe a little bit on their way back to the glory days that they had when they had Marian Hossa and Chara and, Marian Gaborik, Peter Bondra, like early 2000s, mid 2000s. They had a lot of great NHL players. Miroslav Shatan, of course. I got a thought on him in a second. But they played really well together. I think they got a little lucky along the way, but, they got a great goalie performance, and Slafkovsky looked like a superstar in this game. And when you're a team that doesn't have many star players, even guys that play in the NHL, the few that you do have, you need them to carry you a little bit. And Slafkovsky definitely did that in this game. 2 goals and an assist. Both goals were beautiful. The first one is a goal where he baits UC Saros, the Finnish goalie, out of the crease, and he stick handles around him and puts it into an empty net. That was a great goal. And then later on in the game, a big one when they needed it. Bar down, wicked wrister, right over the shoulder of Saros. 2 great goals. He scored 7 goals, by the way, at the last Olympics when he wasn't yet in the NHL as a prospect. So 9 Olympic goals in his career. He's already high on that list all time. So a great performance from him. And, it's only 2 games in. I think he's the MVP of the tournament after day 1. And I think Dahlin has got a little bit of ground to make up for on him. So he was awesome. Finland does not look dangerous at all. It's only 1 game, but they looked like a team that really misses their best forward. No Sasha Barkov, and I think they missed him. Mikko Rantanen, I feel bad for him. Top line is Rupe Hintz and Mikael Granlund. Those aren't 2 bad players, but Rantanen's a superstar forward, and maybe they'll put him with Sebastian Aho because I think he's got to get one more great playmaker on his line to really take over. They've got a system. They're all good defensively. Ristolainen and Joki Harju playing as many minutes as they do is not great. And Saros, I think, is a problem. Was he terrible in this game? I think there were a couple of saves that he probably should have made. And they didn't have UPL available. And honestly, I think if Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was in Milan for the Olympics and hadn't suffered that injury, I think he'd be playing the next game. I think he'd be playing on Friday against Sweden. They might have to play Saros because they don't really have another great alternative. It's Kevin Lankinen, who's been horrible this year in Vancouver, and I don't know. I can't see them turning to him. So I think Finland probably crosses their fingers and just hopes that Saros is able to bounce back from that. I'm not optimistic, though, about their chances, especially against Sweden. I don't think they're going to make it out of the group, right? Or I should probably brush up on how many of those teams do make it. Yeah. They play in playoff games after, so maybe they will have a shot. But I don't think they're winning the group. I don't think they're they're no threat to me to win that group after what we saw from them on Wednesday. So that's that game. And then when we fast forward to Thursday, we got a lot of games, and we'll see Canada play for the first time, 10:40 against Czechia. That is probably the best game for Thursday. It's almost definitely. I think Canada probably has an easy time with Czechia, but Czechia's got NHL guys. They've got, goaltending. They've got a couple of stars. David Pastrnak, top of the list. So maybe they can hang around and make it feisty and make it entertaining. After Wednesday, should be open to that. But I think Canada should probably roll them. Germany-Denmark is a very interesting game to me later in the day, but that's at the same time of the U.S. and Latvia, which I don't love because that means we're not going to get a great look at Germany, who I think are a dark horse to finish third in these Olympics. And the other matchup on Thursday, way in the morning, 6:10 a.m., Switzerland and France. Switzerland is going to challenge for a medal, I bet. They got some NHLers there. Nico Hischier, top-line center. France just doesn't have enough. They should get smoked, but I don't know. Not sure if Switzerland's got the ability to really ragdoll a team like that. So that's what you're looking at on Thursday. Great opening day. Hope it continues. And then Friday, we get some more big games. Of course, that Finnish Swedish game, top of the list. Okay, that'll do it for us today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. I'll share very quickly. I teased it. The annoying thing about the Slovakian jerseys. If you didn't see the Slovakian ice hockey jerseys for the Olympics, they're awesome. They're some of the best jerseys I've ever seen. They have the Slovakian mountain range in the jersey. Perfect color scheme. I loved it. Totally loved it. Just as a joking matter, I went to the site to order, not to actually buy it, but I wanted to take a screenshot of it and post it. A custom Miroslav Shatan Slovakian jersey. All-time Sabre Slovakian, easily. He's a well-liked player. You're not allowed to order a Shatan jersey. They consider it offensive language on the website. He's one of the best players in that country's history, and he's the GM of the team right now. And the site tells you, nope, not allowed. I even reached out to Fanatics to ask, wait, you don't allow people to buy this guy's jersey because his name is Shatan and it's spelled the same way as Satan? And they said, nope, and we can't even override it. They wouldn't do it for you if you had asked. Which, of course, means they need to eliminate all New Jersey Devils merch from the website because they're not being consistent, if that's the case. Wow. Sorry to anybody who wanted that jersey in 81 Shatan. It's ridiculous that you can't get it. Love Mira Shatan. All right. Now rant over. That'll do it for us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow after the U.S. game. And hopefully they're 1-0. I can't imagine they won't be, but I guess we'll see. Talk to you then here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Get into our Locked On Sabres Everydayers Club, the Discord, ad-free version of the show. Go to lockedonsabres.supercast.com to sign up. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network.